Everyone's talking about domain name leasing. I just returned from the traffic conference in Florida, and Adam Dicker told me during his interview on stage that he's leasing one of his domains for $1,700 per month. And although I've pitched leases to prospective buyers who thought my purchase price was too high, I've never had any luck in closing any. You probably feel the same way. Today, we're going to find out why, as well as how to close leases more successfully, how to price them, and much more. Stay tuned. I have 3 short sponsor messages before we get into today's show. First, if you have a great domain name and nothing to show when people visit, you're missing out on potential advertising revenue, leads, and partnership opportunities. NicheWebsites.com can build you a site quickly with a price option to suit any need. But as their tagline says, they don't just build websites, they build businesses. Second, if you're buying or selling a domain name or a portfolio and you want an estimate of its value, Estimate.com is the place to go. Just like you'd visit Zillow.com to get an estimate of a house value, Estimate.com provides key information about the most important statistics so you can make an informed decision based on data. Finally, DNX.com is a domain name exchange that uses a reverse auction platform to provide fair market prices for quality domain names that are manually filtered by an experienced broker. At DNX.com, domain prices drop until someone decides the price is right. But don't wait too long or the domain you love might be purchased by someone else. All 3 sponsors have a clickable banner in the upper right-hand corner of DomainSherpa.com. Here's your program. Hey everyone, my name is Michael Seiger and I'm the publisher of DomainSherpa.com, the website where you come to learn how to become a successful domain name investor and entrepreneur directly from the experts. Domain name leasing makes a ton of sense. In the real world, most people can't afford to buy a retail storefront or a building for their new business venture, so they sign a multi-year lease. They lock in the location, lock in the pricing, and get first right of refusal on subsequent lease terms. But up until just a few years ago, few investors spoke about domain name leasing. One company has been posting regular updates about the domain names they're leasing, so I invited them to come on the show and share how they've been so successful in this area. Joining us today from Turkey is Merve Engin, manager of the leasing operations at NoktaDomains.com. Merve, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Michael. It's my pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you back, and I love to have past Sherpas back on the show to talk about other successes they've had. It's been about a year and a half since you last joined me. I went back and looked at the archives. It was October 11th, 2011, that you and Arif Sengoren closed the highest domain name sale in Turkish history. That was Uçak Bileti, which means flight ticket in Turkish. And it sold for $250,000 US. Is that still the highest domain name sale in Turkish history, or has your team sold another domain name for more since then?
Yes, this is the highest sale in Turkish domain industry, and we haven't sold more than this amount.
All right. So it's still a standing record. When you break it, I want you to come back on and talk about that as well.
Yes, sure. It will our pleasure.
Excellent. And so for anybody that didn't hear about how that whole transaction transpired, that was a great interview that we did that's still just as valid today as it was a year and a half ago. So it will be linked down below this interview because Merve is one of the tags of that one in this interview. So you can go and watch that one after this show. When I last had you on the show in October 2011, you said that you had approximately 810,000 domain names in the Nokta Domains portfolio. How many domain names does Nokta have in the portfolio today?
We have around 70,000 domain names in our portfolio.
700,000?
Yeah.
Have you sold 110,000 domain names since a year and a half ago till today, or how was that? How have you changed from 810,000 to 700,000?
70. It's 70.
70,000.
Yes, 70,000.
Did I mistype? You didn't have 810,000 before. You probably had 81,000 a year ago.
Yes, it was
Okay.
around 80,
So you probably
80,000.
had 81,000 and today you have 70,000.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'm sorry for that. And so have you sold 11,000? Have you dropped 11,000? Because I know that you your company acquires domain names on a regular basis as well.
Uh-huh. We both sold half of it, and we also delete some of them. So this is how it works.
Right. So you're managing some of them out of the portfolio that aren't performing and you're selling a lot of them. And I know
Yes.
your company does sell a lot. So today, of the 70,000 domain names that you currently have in the Nokta Domains portfolio, how many do you have under lease?
Well, it's been around 2 years that we have launched our leasing program, but it really works very well. And we have around 500 domain names under lease.
Wow. Okay, 500 domain names. Great. And what's the average monthly lease payment due? You know, if you looked at all the domains and just averaged them, what's the average number, would you say?
It is $250.
250. Okay. So a lot of them are higher, a lot of them are lower. Some of them are probably in the 30, 40, 50, $100 range to bring the average to 250.
Yeah, yes, that's true. The minimum amount is $10 per month, and the maximum is $15,000. This is for creditscores.com, and this how it changed. It really depends on the quality of the domain name.
Yeah. Great. In an email to me, you gave me some information about how the revenue from leases now compares to the revenue of your monetization of domain names. Are you comfortable in sharing how they compare?
They are nearly the same. In the following year, I think they will reach out to each other, so they will be nearly the same next year.
That's fantastic. So I went to noktadomains.com and I, of course, want to look through your premium domains and I found some great domains. And then I typed one into the browser to see how you're monetizing them. And it looks like you're using domainnamesales.com and internettraffic.com, Frank Schilling's platform, to
Yeah.
park the domains, show advertising. And then you have the banner at the top that says, if you want to buy this buy this domain or lease this domain, and both of those words are linked and take people directly to the page on your website. So you're using, I park my domains on the same platform, so I can see that you have 70,000 domains parked there. You're generating revenue, and now your revenue is about equal from leasing, and you expect it to increase. So that's fantastic after 2 years. So I want to understand how you've created so many leasing relationships during this interview. So oftentimes when people are talking about sales or leases, there are inbound opportunities and there are outbound marketing opportunities as well. Do you rely more on inbound leads that you convert from a sale into a lease, or do you make a lot of outbound inquiries and ask people if they're interested in leasing a domain name?
We both do inbound and outbound marketing. At the beginning of our leasing program, we generally do inbound leasing, but currently we are doing more outbound marketing.
Okay. So when an inquiry comes in, is it usually a domain purchase request that you then convert into a lease, or are the inquiries coming in as leasing inquiries?
Yes. In general, at the first, for example, at first we launched our leasing program. Most of our customers sent their offer for the acquisition, but then they couldn't afford that money, so they wanted to lease the domain name. But now, as the program is known by most of the customers, by everyone, so our customers sent their offer via leasing.
So that begs the question, who are your customers? Who is doing the leasing? Are they domain investors? Are they end users who are starting up a company? Are they end users who currently have a company running that want a better website address? How do they
Yes.
shake out roughly?
In general, they are the small business companies. They are the entrepreneurs who would like to launch their project, and some of them already has a project and they would like to improve it with a better name. So that's why they sent their offer.
So, do you feel the same way that I do when I get an inquiry on one of the very few domains that I own, that people don't understand the value of a domain name, so it takes a lot of time for your staff to educate them on the value of it and why a lease amount is uh why that the lease amount that you're suggesting is fair and equitable?
Yeah, yes, we spent lots of time to make our customers understand the value of the domain names, and yes, we work on that.
What kinds of arguments, or I say arguments not like you're arguing with them, but what kinds of facts do you share with your customer to convince them that something they've never considered before would be a wise investment for them?
Mhm. In general, we show the search volume, the number of TLDs, etc. But leasing is in itself is very valuable to the customers. Just showing the sale price and comparing it to leasing price, it really convinces our customers to continue with leasing.
Yeah. Okay, great point. So one of I just returned from the traffic conference and I've got a lot of different ideas in my mind. One of the ideas that we discussed with Rick Schwartz on stage was that great domain names are getting type in traffic. So they're valuable because people are just organically expecting something to be there, especially on keyword domains. And so they'll type it in expecting to have a product or a service available when they get to one of the domain names. Do you use that argument, and do you share type in traffic that you see through the domain name with the potential acquirer or leaseor?
Yes, actually, we were using, we used to use that argument, but nowadays no one believes in type and traffic. They generally say that, okay, I mean, the traffic of the websites are higher than the type and traffic, so the customers generally do not believe in the type and traffic. So that's why we do not want to continue with this agreement, our
Interesting.
argument.
So you don't even bring up the type in traffic, and they don't know about it. I know before I started in the industry, I didn't think anybody actually typed in domain names, but they do.
Yes, it's interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so walk me through a typical outbound marketing situation. Who do you target and how do you target them?
Yes, our customers are generally small companies and the entrepreneurs. We generally target our outbound marketing to them. For example, it might be a forum about entrepreneurs, a startup forum, or a startup conference. We send our promotions to those conferences and they display our company's name and they offer our promotions to the conference who attend the conferences. So this is how we share our marketing program. Yes.
Great idea. Uh, so are they more on the entrepreneur side for, say, I don't know, brick and mortar entrepreneurs, or are they more on the technology entrepreneurs? In America, we have VentureBeat and TechCrunch and Mashable, which are media websites that cover the startup scene, and they all have conferences or they do media partnerships with the conferences. Are those the kinds of conferences that you're contacting to try and do some sort of promotion through, or do you somehow reach into the more brick and mortar franchise organizations for regular, brick and mortar companies?
Yes, in order to reach out to more people, the touch blogs are more suitable, but sometimes you have to find the end user For example, you can send your leasing offer to someone who has a similar domain name to ours. For example, if someone has credit.com, we can offer creditscores.com to him. So this is how we generally use our marketing in that area.
I'm sorry, so you do or you do not offer credit scores to somebody that has credit.com?
Yeah, yes, we do offer.
You do. And why would they find it useful? If they have a better domain name, are they looking at it as a defensive play, or are you typically targeting worse domain names like creditscoresonline.com and you'll offer them creditscores.com?
Yes, that's true. For example, if they have a three-word domain name like onlinecreditreport.com, we can offer creditreport.com in order to improve their domain name. But sometimes the companies would like to eliminate their competitors, so they acquire all of the domain names that are similar to theirs. So that's why we can offer creditscores.com to the owner of credit.com.
Right, I understand. So you're doing outbound emails on similar domain names to allow people to upgrade their business, but you target business owners, companies that actually have websites up and running. And then you're also targeting the conferences, like startup conferences. What if I attend a startup conference or an entrepreneur conference, how might your promotion be presented to me?
Well, sometimes we sponsor to the conferences. So this is the general method that we use. So this is how we spread our promotion.
Got it. So you do the sponsorships and you do outbound emails. Do you have a team that will actually call up people and try and have a conversation with them, or do you usually start off the conversation with email?
Yes, we both do email, and sometimes we have a marketing team as well. They visit the responsible person from the conference. So that's how we build our relationship.
Gotcha. So you'll actually have people at the conference as well.
Yes, that's true.
Excellent. What percentage of your inquiries actually turn into leases? Is it a large number or a very small number?
Are you asking the lease inquiries only?
Good question. Yeah, let's start with leasing inquiries only.
Okay, because it really changes. For example, it is 90% for the lease inquiries. If we receive a lease inquiry, it will turn into a lease in general.
90%.
Yes.
So
yes,
9
true.
out of 10 people that contact you to say, how much is the lease, or I like this lease, but I want to negotiate the terms. 9 out of 10 of them will turn into a lease.
This is true for the website inquiries. For example, if they come via email, the ratio depends.
Yeah. Okay. And what about inquiries that come in to buy the domain that you try and convert into a lease? Is it much smaller percentage?
Yes, it is much smaller. It is around 30% currently.
12%, you said?
30.
30%. Wow, that's still pretty good. Man, boy, people are just wondering, like, how do you do that 30%? Are you leasing more or less names per month than you're selling?
Yes, currently we are leasing less domain names than sales.
Okay, so sales is still the biggest revenue stream for Nokta Domains.
Yes, that's true.
What do you expect in the future? Do you think that the percentage will stay consistent, that your leases will still be strong, but sales will always be stronger?
Well, I think the number of sales will be higher. The number of leases will be higher than the sales in the future because the leasing grows incredibly since we launched it. So we expect within 5 years, the number of leases will be higher than the sales.
Wow. Okay. So also in 5 years, there's going to be 800 more top-level domains out there. You'll have .app, .shop, .car, you name it. It's going to be out there. I also know that Nokta Domains has a very heavy .com portfolio.
Yes.
How do you
70%.
anticipate the leases will change in the future when the new GTLDs are available and people have an option to, take a fantastic domain names for maybe $5,000 or $10,000 per month lease, or they can just go buy an alternate extension for less.
Well, we really don't know anything about the new GTLs. For example, the sale prices, the register fees, etc. So there can be a huge risk about the new GTLs because everything can be possible about them. So as far as I know that we can lease them as well. So I think our leasing program will not be affected by the new GTL deals.
What about the pricing of your .coms right now? Do you have any thoughts around whether leasing prices will go down when there's more domain names in the market for people to choose from, or is it too early to tell?
I think it is too early to tell.
Okay. Do you have an acquisition team that focuses on domain names to add to your portfolio, and do you know if they're looking at all these new top-level domains?
Yes, we have an acquisition portfolio as well, and we are considering to acquire some of them, but there is no certain plan, so we might acquire some of them.
Yeah. Okay. So let's walk through the high-level process steps so that people get an idea why you're getting a 30% conversion on inbound email leads and from domains to leasing, and a 90% on lease inquiries to close sale. So if we start at just the beginning, somebody is aware, let's say the first step is somebody becomes aware of Nokta Domains. Maybe they attended a conference, maybe you emailed them, and they come to your website and they look at a domain name and it has a price tag of, $1,000 a month, which I'm sure a lot of people would say that's a high lease amount. They may pay $1,000 per month for their retail storefront, and they don't really equate to retail storefront where people can walk in to an online storefront where they have a great domain name. Location, location, location is what people say. So you emailed them and they click through to your website. They look at the lease offer. Maybe they read about the Nokta Domains background and feel more comfortable that it's a real business. And they click. How do they contact you when they're on that web page? Is there a form there that they say, I'm interested in this?
Yes, well, we list all of our domain names for available for lease, so they can see the prices for all of our domain names. The process is very similar to the sales. They can click on the Lease Now button so that they can proceed with the leasing process. This is how they can proceed on our website.
Okay. So on 100% of the domains that you're willing to lease, you have a lease price set. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. And so they're looking at the price and they click to contact, and it shows up as an email or as some sort of customer relationship management entry in your database somehow, and your customer service team then acts on it?
In order to send their offer, they need to log into their noktadomains.com account.
Okay.
So once they log into their account, they can send their offer for the leasing, and then we will see their offer on our site and we will accept their offer.
Okay. And if a domain is priced at $1,000 and I sign into my account, can I make an offer of $600 per month instead? Or do I just send in the inquiry and then I need to have a conversation with somebody?
Yes, as we also have an option price for the leases, the option price is the amount that you can purchase your lease name during the lease period. So we set that amount in our leasing agreement so that our customers can buy the lease name during the lease agreement. So we generally negotiate for this price once our customers send their inquiry for the leasing.
Okay. So the monthly lease amount is fixed, but the
Yeah.
purchase price during the lease may be negotiable.
Yes, that's true.
Okay. So then they send in their inquiry to you, your team. How do you respond back? Is it via email that negotiations happen, or does somebody on your team actually pick up the phone and have a conversation with them?
We use our website for that as well. But sometimes our customers would like to have a phone call, so we can have a phone call to explain all of the processes. So all of them can be suitable.
Yeah. And you're located in Turkey. Do you have staff that works throughout all 24 hours in order to be able to handle customers in the United States or, Western Europe or what have you?
Well, as we received offers via email or through our website, sometimes we cannot reach them at the right time. They send their offer, but we get back to them within 24 hours.
Okay, great. And then the negotiation goes back and forth and you come to an agreement. When it's time to execute the legal agreement, is that done completely online through your website as well? Or is there with electronic signatures, or is there paperwork that actually needs to be printed and signed and faxed?
At the first time we launched our leasing program, we required our customers to sign the agreement manually, so they have had to print the agreement. But now everything can be done online, so the process is very user friendly currently.
Excellent. So, how are your lease agreements structured? Are they let's talk about the major areas of negotiation. What are the areas that people can negotiate on or specify in the lease agreement?
This is only the option price.
Just the option price. What
Yes,
about
just the option
what
price.
about the term of the lease? Is it always 1 year or 3 years or something like that?
Okay. It really depends on our customer, but there is a range for that. For example, the minimum lease term is 6 months, and the maximum lease term is 6 years. So our customers can choose any of the term between this period.
Okay. And if I choose a term at 6 months or 6 years, does that clearly you're getting revenue for a longer period of time? Does that affect the purchase price? Will the purchase price be lower if I opt for a 6-year term, for example?
No, the option price is fixed.
Okay.
It only increases by 2% each year.
Okay. So they can choose as long as they want, but you have the right to raise it by 2% per year.
Yes.
Okay. Um, excellent. And who, we escrow services always talk about holding the domain. And so using an escrow service like escrow.com, they'll hold the domain so that the leaseor knows that a third party is in control of it, and that if you get an offer for the domain name in 6 months, you can't just sell it, even though it may break the contract. Do you use somebody to hold the domain, or do you hold the domains in your own escrow system?
Yes, we hold our domain in our own escrow system. We actually, our customers just inform us their name servers, so we change the name servers, but we have all of the control on the domain name.
Gotcha. So you change the DNS, you point it where they want. If they want a third level domain, you'll add that record. If they and then they of course have full access to the email accounts. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. But we cannot change the whois information.
Right.
We can make it private, but we cannot change it.
Okay. Understand. How do you normally structure the regular payments? Do you always take credit cards, or do some people wire funds to you? How does the payment system work?
Well, there are three options. The first one is PayPal. Also, we have credit card and wire transfer, but around 90% of customers prefers PayPal because PayPal offers a subscription service, so they don't have to track the payments each month. The PayPal allows them to make the payments automatically.
Yeah. What happens if a leaseor runs into a low cash flow period? Maybe their business is cyclical, so they do really well in the holidays and really poorly in the middle of the summer. How do you handle a situation when somebody can't make a full payment per month?
Well, we encountered such situations. Some of our customers informed that they will not be able to make the payment of this month, and if the reason is suitable for us, we said that you can make the payment after 2 months or 3 months. But there is a term in our agreement that if someone cannot make the payment within 20 days, we have the right to terminate the agreement. But we never we have never used that term.
You haven't used that clause to terminate a lease agreement. You want to try and work with the leaseor as much as
Yes.
possible.
Mhm.
Excellent. And what happens if the site just blows up? It takes off. It's doing really well. Will the price of the domain name be affected? Like, can you increase the price of it, or is it just it's always locked in that contract? So whatever they negotiated to start with is what they can buy it for.
Yes, it's locked.
Okay.
We cannot increase.
Excellent.
Actually,
I'm sure I know a lot of leaseors are probably concerned about that. They're concerned either way. One, the lease is a smaller payment per month that guarantees them a better storefront to be more successful. And if they fail, then their liability is limited. But if things go really well, they don't want somebody to hold that over their head and say, "Well, now I'm going to charge you more because the domain is worth more." So let's talk about that first situation. So because if the website does well, they make a lot of money, they have the option to buy the domain name. We've discussed that, and that's negotiated before the contract is signed. But what if the business fails? What if they gave it, a go? They had a 6-year lease locked in, but after a year, they just can't make any money. Do they have the right to walk away from the lease?
yes, we can terminate the agreement, but there is a limit on that. Within 4 months, started from the begin date of the agreement, we cannot terminate it. So after 4 months, they can terminate the agreement anytime they would like to.
Okay, that makes sense. And what if the so what if the leaseor wants to sell the domain name? Maybe they put up a domain name after 4 months, they get an inquiry from somebody else saying, your business is great, but I'd like that domain name and I'd like to buy it. Does that leaseor then have the right to purchase the domain name from you and then sell it to this third party?
Yes, it can be possible. In order to sell the list name, they just have to buy the domain name from us, so they can make anything with the domain name.
Great. Any other interesting or notable areas of the lease that might interest our audience that we haven't discussed?
Yes, we haven't talked about the credit option. For example, our customers earns credit towards the option price from the lease payments that they have paid. The ratio is 15% for the first 2 years, and for the other years, the ratio is 10%. We deduct the 15% of the lease payments that they have paid from the option price.
Wow. Okay, so you're giving them a credit for everything that they're paying in towards the purchase price.
Yes,
that makes
that's
sense. So I went on your site this morning and I saw the domain autoauctions.com listed in your premium domain category. It and if I go to the domain, I can see it's got a purchase page and a lease page that from the domain name sales platform that lead to your website. The make offer sale page, the sale page actually says there's make an offer. There's no sale price listed, but the lease page lists $12,500 per month as the lease amount.
Yes.
So you don't provide statistics on the type in traffic to somebody that might be interested. We've discussed that, right? So they're looking at, the search volume, which is 8,200 exact match searches per month. You tell them about the cost per click, which is $1.32. You talk about, the potential benefits of building a website and using that keyword for search engine optimization, I'm sure.
Yes.
And that's usually good enough to convince them that leasing it for $12,500 per month is going to be a benefit to them.
This is important. We really want our customers to know the value of the domain name. So I don't think no one will lease a domain name by seeing the type in traffic, because the marketing, the SEO, everything will create more value to the domain name that they leased. So that's why we don't declare the type in traffic.
Yeah. Okay. On your website, how do you classify the domain name into the premium category or into the budget category? Is that by the value of the domain name that your team assesses to it?
Yes, we have a valuation tool, the appraisal tool. We worked for that tool for 2 years, and that's how we determine whether a domain name is premium or not.
And is there some sort of rough estimate, like if it's over $100,000 in purchase price, it's a premium domain, but if it's under, it goes into another category?
Yes, it might be. For the premium domains, the prices are higher, of course.
So if I have a domain name and I assess a price of, $85,000 or $100,000, let's just use a rough number. How do you price your leases if your domain name is priced at $100,000 for purchase?
Well, if it is a premium domain name, we have a lifetime of 10 years or 20 years. It really depends on the quality. So in real estate also, the leasing fees are determined from the lifetime of the apartments, etc. So we used the real estate model to determine our prices in leasing.
So I guess I don't understand that, Merve. Do you, because usually the real estate, you may buy an apartment complex or a commercial property and you may have bought it 30 years ago, so it was much less than what you'd buy it for today. And usually lease prices are set by the market. If everybody else is charging $2,000 a month for a 600 square foot storefront on the downtown, then that sort of rises with the market value. So if you know that the value of so are you setting your lease prices based on what other leases are going for, or are you setting your lease prices based on the sale value of the domain name?
Yes, our prices are based on the sale value, but in order to calculate the lease value, we have a lifetime for the domain names. For example, within 10 years, we can sell a premium domain name, but if it's a low-quality domain name, we can sell it within 20 years. The lifetime is higher. We also heard that in real estate, there are some lifetimes for the apartments, but as the competition is higher in real estate, generally they can determine the prices by considering the prices of other apartments in that area.
Right, that makes sense. So one of the attendees at the traffic conference said that they priced their domain names at 10% per year of the value of the domain name. So if the value of the domain name was $100,000, the lease per year would be $10,000, and then they'd break that up into 12 monthly payments. Do you use a formula like that to price your lease payments?
Yes, our formulation is like we divide the sale price by 10 years, and then we divide that number by 12 months.
Oh, okay. I understand what you're saying now with the 10 years and the 20 years. So the 10 years is a premium domain name that you think you can sell within 10 years.
Yes,
And then
that's true.
can you describe for me the domain names that get a 20-year lifetime?
For example, some of the domain names are not premium. They cannot be sold easily, so we can say they can be sold within 20 years. Their lifetime are higher.
Okay, great. So your formula is actually identical to what the other person, I can't remember who it was that said it. It might have been Rick Schwartz. No, it might have been Mike Birkins or Rick Schwartz that have a lease formula the same way. So for your premium domain names that you expect to sell within 10 years, you take 10% of the price and you divide that by 12, and that's the monthly fee. But with yours, you lock them in for 4 months. They can't cancel a contract for until the end of 4 months of payments. And then every month for the first 2 years, you give them a 15% credit towards the purchase price you've agreed to. So that seems like a great deal. So I recently noticed that you've sold PCCleaners.com for $13,500. So the lease amount, would that be a domain name that you would expect to sell within a 10-year term period?
Yes, I think it can be more than 10 years, but within 10 years to 13, etc. So its price might be $70 per month.
Got it. Okay. Great. Well, that's a great methodology, and that clarifies it in my mind. And hearing another domain name investor talking about it as well as yours with the success that you've had definitely makes sense. We talked about who the leases are typically done with. They're either tech entrepreneurs. If you had to classify the type of companies that are buying them, are they more on the technology that are leasing the domain names? I'm sorry. Are they more on the technology side, or are they more on the retail? They have a real business brick and mortar presence.
Well, they are from the technology side in general. For example, some of them are SEO companies or web design companies. They can lease the domain name, but most of the time they are the end users, the people who would like to launch their projects.
And do you find that, and maybe you don't do research into this, but of the companies that are leasing the domain names, are they doing it because they are building a cash flow positive business, or were they funded? Did they have some sort of funding event and they're able to use some of that money for leasing or purchasing the domain name?
I think they generally find the funding after they launch their websites by leasing the domain name, because the investors generally consider if the website works well, they make the investments considering the website. So at first they do not have funding, I guess, from the investors, but some of our customers, for example, already have a company, but they would like to improve their businesses, or they would like to start a new business model. So that's why they lease the domain names.
Yeah, it makes sense. Well, this has been a fantastic tutorial on leasing, Merve. Where do you see Nokta going in the future? Do you see things internally with respect to domain names that the rest of the industry isn't focused on right now?
Well, leasing can be the answer, I guess, because there are no so much companies that offer leasing service. So leasing is very important for us.
Great. Well, we need to educate more of the end users on the leasing option. So I appreciate you coming on the show and talking about how you do it. It's through transparency like this where we talk about the methodology so that entrepreneurs and tech startups can figure out what is fair and equitable as it compares directly to a lease in real estate using a very similar methodology that, we can all become more familiar and get more leases done. If you have additional questions about leasing, please post them in the comments section below this video, and I'll ask Merve to come back and answer as many as she can. Merve Engin, Manager of Leasing Operations at Nokta Domains, thank you for returning to the Domain Sherpa Show, sharing your knowledge about domain name leasing, and thanks for being a repeat Domain Sherpa.
That's my pleasure. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.